Hey folks, Chris, Kentucky Woodsman. I was tagged last week by Danny's Off-Grid Flat. He wanted to know 10 lessons I had learned as a woodsman out in the woods. He also wanted to know 5 essential items that I keep with me at all times. So let's go through the list. Okay, the first lesson that I've learned is never trust the weather, and never trust a weatherman. Always prepare for inclement weather. If it's the winter, prepare to be cold, even if the weatherman says it's going to be warmer. If it's the summer, prepare for rain and prepare for storms, even if there is no chance of rain or storms. The weatherman does the best he can, but he cannot predict every single situation. So like I said, never trust the weather, never trust the weatherman. Number 2, always expect the unexpected. And be open-minded and take things as they come. Number 3, always keep a backup to your essential items. Keep a knife as a backup, keep extra fire building methods as a backup, have backup first aid items, have backup ways of either purifying water if you're carrying water in. Not only do that, but have ways of purifying water, whether it be a water filter, chemical purification, whatever the case may be. Keep some type of backup. You never know when you're going to need it. As a scuba diver, I always have backups to my backups. It means I'm a lot of times have 3 different items on my gear. But that's for my best interest, that's for my personal safety. Yeah, you may be gear laden a little bit, but sometimes it's better to have spares than it is to not have anything at all. Okay, number 4, keep in mind what I just said. Have backups to your backup. But you can have too much gear. You can have too many non-essential items. And if you don't believe that, and you are gear laden on a long hike, you will regret it at the end of the day. There is gear that is essential that you keep extra items of, and there's a lot of times when we go in the woods we carry gear that we simply do not need. Number 5, when you are out in the woods and you finally do settle on a campsite, I urge each and every one of you, and this is from personal experience, I've seen this happen a couple of different times to family members of mine. Inspect your campsite. Inspect your area well. Is there widowmakers hanging in the trees above that could fall during high winds, fall just because it's their time to fall, whatever the case may be? Be prepared. Watch for that. Look the area over. Are you near a stream? Is there a potential, if you have a bad storm or a lot of rain, is there a potential for flash flooding? This is something we experience here in eastern Kentucky a whole lot. We have deep, narrow valleys, and if you choose a campsite in the middle of one of these deep, narrow valleys beside a creek, and a storm was to happen to come in, it's very likely that there's going to be flash flooding in that area. It's not that way everywhere, but in the hills of eastern Kentucky, it is very prominent, and it's definitely something to look for. Is the campsite, or is the area you've chosen, does it look like it's well used? That can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. If it's well used, there's a good possibility that you already have a fire pit made and that type of stuff. It can also mean that it's a local party site for the teenagers. So be careful. Watch what you choose. Look your campsite over and use great discretion in choosing a campsite, especially if you're by yourself. Number 6, and this one is something that a lot of people don't think of, and I'm going to bring this up because if you spend any time at all in the woods, you've experienced some type of stomach bug in the woods. Every one of us has. Anti-diarrhea medicine does you no good at home in the medicine cabinet. That is a very good item to add to your first aid kit. It's a very good item to keep on hand anywhere, in your vehicle, out in the woods, at home, whatever the case may be. And I mention this because in one of Tim Watson's latest videos. He was talking about keeping anti-diarrhea medicine in his first aid kit. And to be honest with you, I've always kept anti-diarrhea medicine in my first aid kit. But I never really thought about it until I watched his video. And he brought up a very good point. It's very, very critical item to have in your first aid kit. It can make or break your hiking trip or camping trip. So don't forget the anti-diarrhea medicine. Number 7, keep an open mind. Be prepared for changes. Be prepared for things to not go your way. Be prepared for the unexpected. Just keep an open mind. Be prepared that you could get lost. Be prepared that you could get hurt. Keep an open mind. Don't think it's not going to happen to me, because it very well could, and it's very likely it will at some point if you spend enough time in the woods. Number 8, if you find yourself in a encounter with a bear, with a snake, with a sketchy person on the trail, chances are none of them are going to hurt you. But there's always the potential and there's always the possibility. Remember, to be honest with you, I am much more worried about the sketchy person I see on the trail than I am the bears or the snakes. Chances are the bears and snakes are going to move on. They don't want to have an encounter with you any more than you want to have an encounter with them. Sketchy people, on the other hand, you just never know what you're getting into. On a hike several years ago, I was in a nature preserve, and I actually come across 3 different people at the same time that had been digging ginseng. They knew they weren't supposed to be there. I knew they weren't supposed to be there, and they were scared. They were really worried. And I'm not going to kid you, the situation got tense. I didn't know if I was going to get a shovel up across the side of the head. I didn't know what to expect. I kept my mind open. I started backing away, trying to put distance between me and them as much as possible and still not seem overly rude. But you're far more likely to get hurt by a sketchy person than you are by a bear or snake. So please keep that in mind. Not to say a snake or a bear won't hurt you, but the sketchy person is more likely to hurt you than the bear or the snake. Number 9. Now I find this as a very important lesson. You know, I do multiple things out in the woods. I hike, I camp. You all know I'm building a cabin here on our farm. I also like to ride ATVs. I like to ride dual sport motorcycles. I enjoy different aspects of the outdoors. There's a lot of folks that don't. There's a lot of folks that simply, they keep their interest in hiking and backpacking. A lot of folks keep their interest in, maybe fishing or maybe hunting. We all have to be tolerant of each other. We all are out there enjoying the same things. We may just be enjoying them in different ways. Now that's not to say if someone has an ATV out on a foot traffic only trail that we have to be tolerant in that situation. But if you're in a park where they offer different activities on the same trail, a multi-use trail, be patient and be tolerant of everyone else. They have just as much right to be out there as you do. You may not always enjoy the noise of an ATV. You may not always, enjoy having to step over horse manure or whatever the case may be. But we all have to be tolerant. And like I said, if you're on a multi-use trail, you just have to expect that. Everyone enjoys the outdoors in different ways. So be tolerant of each other, and we all need just to get along. And last but not least, there is nothing that makes me any madder than to be walking across a trail and see other people's trash. So please practice leave no trace. And one other thing that I would like to recommend to each and every one is keep a garbage bag in your backpack. It doesn't weigh that much and it's not that much trouble. It can be used for different situations. But keep a garbage bag, and if you start coming across other people's trash, just bite the bullet, pick up other people's trash and carry it out. We shouldn't have to do that, but unfortunately it happens. So please, if you're out on the trails, please practice leave no trace. None of us want to see your trash no more than you want to see other people's trash. It's just good for the environment. It's good to be able to walk through the woods and not find other people's trash. Okay, the other thing that he tagged me in is he wanted to know 5 essential items that I keep with me at all times in the woods. My number 1 item is a knife, and I usually always have a couple of knives with me. A knife is indispensable in many situations. So keep a knife and keep a backup. Number 2, it's always a good practice to keep some type of water with you, even if it's just a bottle of water. And in the event that you run out of water, have some means or method of purifying your water that you may find out on the trail. Number 3, keep some type of emergency food ration with you. The best thing to keep with you is some type of high protein source food bar, at the very minimum, a Mountain House meal, an MRE, any type of food item keep with you. Even if it's just a Snickers candy bar, keep some type of emergency food ration with you. You never know when your sugar's going to go low. You never know when it's going to take you longer to get out of the woods than what you expected. And it's always good to have some means of restoring and replenishing your energy. Number 4, always have some type of shelter building method, whether it be a small tarp, whether it be a contractor's trash bag. A contractor's trash bag will provide you quite a bit of warmth, especially in a early spring shower, summer shower, when it gets cool in the evenings. If you carry an orange contractor's bag with you, it's a good signaling method. It's always good to have some type of emergency shelter with you at any given time. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a tent, but keep a small tarp, trash bag, a space blanket, just any means of getting out of the elements. And number 5, last but not least, keep some method of building a fire. Now, it's best to keep several methods. I myself try to keep some type of lighter with me. I don't smoke, but I always have a lighter with me. I try to keep a fire steel. I try to keep some type of emergency tinder. A lot of times I'll keep a small Ziploc bag of dryer lint and some fat wood and different types of materials like that. A day like today, you see it's wet, misty, raining. A day like today, it may be hard to find a dry tinder. So keep a little bit with you and keep multiple ways of starting a fire. I want to thank Danny for taking the time to tag me in this video. It's a really, he gave me some really good things to bring up. Danny has a good channel. It's Danny's Off-Grid Flat. Go check it out. I think you'll like his channel. He's a real good natured fella, real down to earth, and he's become a pretty good friend of mine here on YouTube. So go check out Danny's Off-Grid Flat. You'll be glad you did, and he will too.